What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you the third and final profile from Phantom Revenge, and that is of course the Kewl Tunes. Now the Kewl Tunes are a tuner synchro based archetype that allow you to use other tuners in the hand to perform synchro summons, which is really important. And as I go through the profile, you'll see exactly what type of cards allow you to do that. But the benefit is that all of the Kewl Tune monsters have the same clause on the top of their lines that say, if this card in the field would be used as a synchro material, one tuner in your hand can also be used. This is a condition, not an activated effect. So even if something like the Kewl Tune Reco is negated, it can still perform that summon. Now, unlike any across and Hecker hands, this is one of the few decks that have got not direct support, but indirect support confirmed in Burst Protocol, because we do get the Chain Bound Dragon. Now, this one is another synchro tuner that allows you to have a bit of negation, which is the one thing that the deck's kind of missing, is a way to negate cards like Nibiru or anything else. They have Kewl Tune RS, which lets you target negate, which is still quite helpful, but anything that gets activated in the hand is really not going to be able to be stopped, which is really important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through this list. Now this list is specifically Kewl Tune Ghost Sisters. And the reason I call it the Kewl Tune Ghost Sisters build is it plays every single one of the Ghost Sisters bar one, and that is Dogwood. And the reason you do that is because they are level 3 tuners, you can utilize them as hand interactions, but you can also use them as synchro material, which really does give you another edge. Right now, that's what you want to try and aim to do, is you want to try and aim to have as many tuners available to you as possible, because you get a bit more consistency to be able to synchro using materials in your hand, which is a little bit different from the more conventional way of synchro summoning monsters. On top of that as well, these are currently, as the day of recording this video, the only deck to have a top at a regional in comparison to Hecker Hands and any across. I believe this one got a top 8 at a Athens or a Greek regional, and then it also got a top 4 at a UK regional, I believe, as well. So, with all of that out of the way, I'm going to dive headfirst into profile, show you what we've got, explain why we've got it, and then go from there. Diving headfirst, starting off with the monsters. Now, this is probably the hardest to put together from Phantom Revenge, because all of the main monsters are, all of the main cards in general are ultra rares. It does, however, open up the door to be one of the more consistent ways, or the one that has the most potential in the future to gain value in a sense. So we're going to start off with 3. You play 3 of all of the monsters. Like, these are your core components, and the best thing about these is cards like Reco and Mix are listed on a synchro monster, which will come very important later on. So you're going to play 3 Kewl Tune Reco. Now they all have the same line of text on the first bit, which if it would be used as synchro material, a tuner in your hand can also be used as one of the other materials. The benefit of this one is that it's a condition, not an effect, so even if the effects of Kewl Tune Reco, for example, are negated, you can still perform the synchro summon. So Reco is if it is normal or special, you get to add a Kewl Tune monster from the deck or grave back to the hand, except a level 3. If this card is sent to the grave as synchro material, you target, spell track your opponent trolls and destroy it. Then we have 3 Kewl Tune Mix. So on normal or special, you get to add a Kewl Tune monster from the deck to the hand or graveyard to the hand, except a level 2. And then if it is sent to the grave as synchro material, target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Then finally, for the ultra rares of the direct monsters of the deck, is we're playing 3 Kewl Tune Q. Now this one's slightly different from the rest. It still has the first same line of text that it could be used. You can use a tuner in your hand as synchro material, but this one is specifically on normal summon. You get to special summon any tuner from the hand, deck, or grave except itself. But for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon except tuners. And if it's sent to the grave as synchro material, you excavate the top 2 cards from your opponent's deck, banish one of them, and then put the other one on the top or bottom of the deck. Now, the reason this one is so good is it can technically get you access to a Ghost Ogre directly from the deck, and Ghost Ogre is one of the very few Ghost Sisters that can actually be activated on the field, but it can also get you a card that is surprisingly missing in Phantom Revenge, but could very easily be in the next OTS pack, or in the next Rarity Collection pack, or even the new Maze pack, and that is, of course, Red Nova. So, Red Nova is if this card is sent to the grave for the synchro summon that uses 2 or more tuners as material, you get to special summon a Fire Fiend monster from the deck in defense position. Now, it does open up the door to some very limited options. There's a couple of Red Dragon Archfiend style cards, which I will bring out later on, that you could go for, but more times than not, you're going to be able to bring out access to your Kewl Tune Reco, and then use Reco to move on a little bit further forward, because what Reco will want to do is try and search out the next card that I'm going to show you, and that is going to be your Kewl Tune Clip. Now remember, all of your Kewl Tune monsters require 2 tuners specifically, so you'll always be able to activate and resolve Red Nova. And the benefit is when you're making a synchro summon play here, usually a synchro level 4, you just build a very nice chain block, because you'll be able to go chain link 1, Red Nova, chain link 2 will be Maker from the extra deck, and then chain link 3 will be Q. So you're kind of blocking for everything you could possibly want to. Speaking of Kewl Tune clip, this is your hand interaction Kewl Tune monster. So again, if on the field it would be used as synchro material, a tuner in the hand can also be used. But on top of that is during your opponent's main phase, if it is in the hand, quick effect special summon this card. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon 1 tuner synchro monster. If it's sent to the grade as synchro material, you get to banish face up a random face down card from your opponent's extra deck. So it rips a card from your opponent's extra deck, but it also lets you synchro summon turn 0 during your opponent's turn. And in doing so, when you're starting to synchro off with your cards like less so Q, but more so Mix and Retco, you could destroy a spell your opponent has or destroy a monster your opponent has as well, which is really, really important. Not to mention that some of your other synchro monsters, you could work your way into a Kewl Tune RS to then give you the ability to target negate a card on the field. So not only could you destroy 1 card, whether it be a spell or a monster, you can then also negate a card as well, and you've got a lot more to build off of. The last ultra rare from the main deck for the Kewl Tune cards is free Kewl Tune Synchro. Now this is actually really important that it actually has Synchro in the name, because it means you can use Duelist Genesis or a Duelist Nexus, I believe it is. There's a spell card that came in Legendary 5Ds. I did have a copy somewhere and I've completely misplaced it. But the other is, as long as you have a tuner in your field or graveyard, you can search out a card that has Synchro in its name. So you can search yourself out your Kewl Tune Synchro, or of course you can search out Synchro Overtake, which I'll talk about in a second. So the Kewl Tune Synchro is a quick play spell card. It lets you add a Kewl Tune card from the deck to the hand except itself. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon a tuner synchro monster. You cannot special summon for the rest of the turn after this card resolves except tuners. You can activate up to 2 Kewl Tune Synchros per turn. Now, this is actually really, really important, because you've got 2 ways you can play this. You can play it during the draw phase, which means you can play around draw and lot birth for your first search, really important. But it also means that you can play around targeted effects, because you would go, for example, normal summon Retco, normal summon Q, normal summon Mix. Your opponent activates a targeted effect. You could then chain your Kewl Tune Synchro. Now the benefit of this one is as the chain resolves, you would use Kewl Tune Synchro to then add a card from your deck to the hand, or a Kewl Tune monster from the deck to the hand. You will then be able to perform a synchro summon thanks to Kewl Tune Synchro. So you use the Mix, the Retco, the Q on the field, and then the monster that you've just added off of the back of the Kewl Tune Synchro to perform a synchro summon. That would then mean that chain 2, whether it be an infinite impermanence or an effect veiler, would no longer be able to resolve because the target is no longer there, and that would then allow you to get the search off of your Mix, your Retco, or your summon off of your Q. On top of that, as you move into the new chain, you'll then be able to go, cool, Chain link 1, the new synchro you've just made. Chain link 2 could then be the materials you've just used for said synchro summon to either destroy a monster, destroy a spell, or anything else you need to if you are going second. If you're going first, you don't really need to worry about those unless it's going to be Q, and then Q would then still be able to excavate 2 cards from your opponent's deck, or if you use Clip, you'll be able to banish 1 from your opponent's extra deck, so you'll still get value from it one way or another. Moving on to the next card, being Synchro Overtake. So this card was a rare in Phantom's Revenge, and this one lets you reveal a Synchro monster in your extra deck. Choose one of the Synchro materials mentioned on it specifically. So it can't say Kewl Tune monster, it has to say their name specifically, which 2 of our Kewl Tune monsters do mention, because when you see the Kewl Tune monsters, you will notice that all of them are pretty much Synchro upgrades or Synchro combinations of the monsters in our decks, being Retco and Mix and everything else in between. You cannot special summon for the entire turn you activate this effect except synchros, and you can either add the monster to the hand or special summon it. So it means, and the reason that this is different between for the rest of the turn and the entire turn, it means if you were to summon anything else apart from synchros before you activate this card, you can't activate the card. Whereas with Kewl Tune Synchro, for example, you could summon whatever you wanted until you activate this effect, and then when you activate this effect, you can only summon tuners for the rest of the turn. Big difference, so that's something you need to keep in mind on. Then the last 2 Kewl Tune cards that we play in the main deck is the one JJ Kewl Tune and the one Kewl Tune Playlist. So some people do play multiple Kewl Tune JJ or JJ Kewl Tunes. If you want to, that's absolutely fine. I personally quite like getting this direct access off of the back of the Track Maker, and I'll talk about those when I get to the extra deck. But this one, you can normal summon a tuner during your main phase each turn. So this is the other benefit of playing the Ghost Sisters, is that worst case scenario, if you do open this up and you have to normal summon down a Ghost Sister, you could then, as it continues, tribute off a Ghost Sister. So you get to normal summon a tuner during the main phase in addition to your normal summoner set. Your Kewl Tune Loudness War, you control, gain 3,300 attack while your opponent has a tuner in the graveyard. So this is your Loudness War. And then on top of that, you get to tribute one tuner to add to your hand or special summon a Kewl Tune monster from the deck. You can't special summon for the rest of this turn except tuners. So it's really good to kind of allow you to turn some of your Ghost Sisters into your Kewl Tune monsters. It is entirely up to you. You can still utilize your Ghost Sisters as hand interactions, but you can also use them as synchro material or whatever else you might need to. Then the Kewl Tune playlist. So the Kewl Tune playlist lets you target a Kewl Tune monster in the field or graveyard. Apply the effects in sequence, but for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon except tuners. So you apply that target's effect that activates when it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material. So destroy a monster, execute top 2, banish one from your opponent's extra deck, destroy a spell or trap, you name it, and then there are some other cards that will allow you to target a card in the opponent's field and return it to the hand. And then on top of that, you get to return that target to the hand. So in an ideal scenario, you'll probably want to target cards in your graveyard to recycle them back around rather than anything else, but that's just something you need to look at. And you can activate up to 2 Kewl Tune playlists per turn. Well, I wouldn't say that's unique. There are some other cards in the game that let you activate them twice per turn. But it's kind of cool that you've got your Kewl Tune Synchro and your Kewl Tune playlist that could be activated twice a turn. So that's it for your Kewl Tune monsters. Now to go into the Ghost Sisters. Now, the Ghost Sisters we are playing. So 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, pretty kind of standard on this one. As your way to stop either Perulios or Fualosses can be quite useful, but then obviously interact with your opponent. One that you don't see very often, but I actually quite like in this build is 3 Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. So we play 5 targets in the extra deck. This one is very flexible. This can very easily become your pot of extravagance if you wanted to. I feel that it could get a little bit risky, but that's entirely down to player preference. It could also be something like a Super Polymerization. It could be a the Fallen and the Virtuous. It is entirely up to you on what you want this space to be. I just felt if I'm going to call this the Ghost Sister build, I'm going to commit to the Ghost Sisters. And I like the idea that Reaper can be drawn off of a Mulchummy, but it can target certain cards in the format that could weaken my opponent's end field. So whether I want to target a K9 Ripper, whether I want to target a Nash Knight, a Arfulion, a Yummy Snatchy, you just make it very, very awkward for your opponent to try and navigate and play around. Entirely up to you, take it out, change it around. The fact of the matter is, all of these cards that I'm about to show you now, the benefit is the fact that they're tuners. If you want to reduce this count, another build that I've been looking at is Centurions. You could play a sub-engine if you wanted to. You could play the K9s, you could play the Horus package. Entirely up to you. You just want to make sure that you have multiple tuners in your hand so you can perform the synchro summons not only during your turn, but during your opponent's turn with stuff like Kewl Tune Clip, and even with Kewl Tune Mix and Kewl Tune Synchro. Then we have 2 Ghost Ogres, 2 Ghost Bells, and 2 Ghost Mourners. So again, very, very flexible. If you feel that Ghost Ogre is better in your environment, make this at 3. If you think Bell is better in the environment, make it a 3. If you think Mourner is better in the environment, make it a 3. You have complete control over how you want these to be represented. With the 3s, what it opens up to is it opens up more consistent ways to get you to Synchro 5s and 6s, but to make sure you have access to get to Synchro 4s as well, being your track maker. We're also playing Effect Veiler. And then I'm not the biggest fan of this, so I might actually take this out, but they are just incredibly powerful if you see them. And that is the Psyframe package of 2 Delta and 1 Gamma. Now, the reason that these are quite useful is that they're level 2 tuners, so even if you see them and have a monster on the field, you can use them as synchro materials from the hand. It does mean that you are playing an additional brick in the form of the Psyframe driver. So this could very easily, if you wanted to, become 3 K9 Azuna, 1 K9 Lupus. It could become, and I probably wouldn't advise it, but you could become 1 King Sark and 3 Msetis, and then you'd have to add another Horus monster into that rotation. It is completely flexible. They are great. If you see Gamma in your hand, you're like, and you're going second, happy days. If you draw either of these off of Mulchummies, probably it'd be Perulia, Fualos, you name it, you're in dreamland. But if you're going first, the only time that you can protect from your stuff is if your opponent ashes your Delta, your Kewl Tune Synchro, if they ash your Synchro Overtake, and more times than not, most people do wait for you to commit to the field, and then they kind of play around these. So I'm not completely set on them. I get why they are being used. They are incredibly powerful, but this is a 42 card deck, so if you really wanted to, you'd cut these out and you could put in a 3rd Ghost Ogre, a 3rd Ghost Bell. Heck, if you wanted to complete the Ghost Sister family, you could put in 2 Dogwoods as well. The final card is 3 Mulchummy Fualos. I just feel that it's not like I fully understand it, okay? I feel that it's crazy to not play a chummy if you have access to it, because to let your opponent run rampant going first is very bad. It's rare that it should happen in this deck just because you've got your Ashes, your Bells, your Ogres and all of those in between. But if you're able to drop a Full Loss, not only will their field, maybe they'll be tempted to make it weaker, but you're just increasing your chances to draw into more tuners that you can utilize, as well as more interactions you can drop on your opponent. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to take you through the extra deck. When it comes down to side decks, this is where it gets quite interesting, because that is really going to be down to your environment dependent. You need to try and maintain the tuner ratios in your main deck if you are having issues with them. But that's kind of up to you to go, okay, Ghost Bell is not good in this matchup, take them out, and the Nibiru's better. Ghost Ogre is not good in this matchup, take them out, put in Veilers. If you want to like bump up your Veilers, or if you are worried about, like, if you use Forbidden Chalices, you can choose Perulias, you name it. You've got loads of different options. If you're going first, you take out the Full Losses, you can put in like Iron Thunders or Solemn Strikes, Solemn Warnings, you've got loads of options. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Extravagance, but because the extra is very, very flexible, you don't need to rely on the Ghost Reaper option, so that opens up the door for you, and then you would play 3 of all the Kewl Tune monsters, which you're practically doing anyway. I just feel that, yes, you have ways to recycle your Kewl Tune monsters, and Extrav's good. It just runs straight into a Drow and Lockbird, which you can normal summon down like a Repco or a Mix or anything like that, get your first search, and then hit a Drow, and you're like, okay, cool, I can still play. But if you are to hit a Drow for the back of Extrav, straight away your Repco's completely gone, unless you have a Kewl Tune Synchro, and even then that's not great to use it, because you'd go chain Kewl Tune Synchro, search, Synchro summon, and you'd still need a monster on the field. So it's not the most defensive against Drow and Lockbird, which is running around, so you need to respect it a little bit. Anyway, for the extra deck, we are on 3 Kewl Tune RS. I probably should have done Maker first, because Maker is the level 4, but I've already committed to Kewl Tune RS, so we're going to show you this one. So this is probably like your best one as a interactor. It requires Kewl Tune Retco plus 1 or more tuners. Gains 300 attack for each tuner in your graveyard, so another benefit of playing the Ghost Sisters. The levels of monsters your opponent controls with 1700 or lesser original attack are increased by 1, which makes it very awkward for the Yummy matchup, because they then become level 2 sometimes, and it's not as always as easy to make their synchro plays. On top of that as well, is during the main phase, you get a quick effect to banish a tuner from the grave, target a face-up card your opponent controls, and negate its effect until the end of the turn. Going back to our Kewl Tune Maker, so this is our level 4. This requires a Kewl Tune tuner and then 1 tuner. So this one doesn't list a Kewl Tune monster specifically, whereas this one specifically lists Retco. If this card on the field would be used as synchro material, a tuner in your hand would be used as a material as well. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If it's special summons, you get to add any Kewl Tune card from the deck to the hand. And if it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you return non-target 1 card your opponent controls to the hand. So it's kind of like one of the little ones, but for the extra deck rather than the main deck. Then we're on 3 Kewl Tune Remix. So this one specifically does list Kewl Tune Mix in its text. So this is how you can use Synchro Overtake to get you access to your Kewl Tune Mix directly from the deck. So this one gains 1500 attack while your opponent has a tuner on their field or graveyard. During your opponent's turn, you get a quick effect to tribute this card to choose 2 non-synchro tuners in your graveyard, add 1 of them back to the hand, and if you do, you special summon the other. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you synchro summon a tuner synchro monster. So this is a way that you can not only gain back a hand interaction from the graveyard back to the hand should you want to, but it can also allow you to start to trigger off the Kewl Tune synchro effects during your opponent's turn, or sorry, synchro effects, but also the material effects, because then you can go, right, I can now destroy a monster, destroy a spell, I can go from there. So really quite useful. And then the last Kewl Tune monster we play is to Land This War. Now you'd play this at 3 if you are on the Pot of Extravagance, because this is kind of like, I wouldn't say your game ender, but it's kind of like your boss monster. So it requires specifically 2 tuners, and then other tuners you control cannot be destroyed by card effect. Also, your opponent cannot target them with card effects. And when your opponent activates a card or effect, you get a quick effect, banish a Kewl Tune monster from the grave to apply that banished monster's effect that activates when it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material. You can only use each of this effect once per turn. Now, one thing I am trying to play, and there's only really 1 card you can kind of use, and that's the Flame Crime. Now, the Flame Crime, I'll see if I've got it to one side. It's a card that you use in Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, the reason I quite like it is as I go back to talking about the Red Nova can access a Fire Fiend. Now, the Fire Fiends you can get access to, and it's definitely not here, is you could play the Soul Resonator, And the reason you'd play the Soul Resonator is because Soul Resonator on normal or special will allow you to add a Fiend monster from the deck. So you could add a Repco for follow-up. The Flame Crime, the benefit of that one, yes, it can send a trap card from deck to the graveyard. You could play Red Rain if you wanted to, but the idea of that is the fact that it's a non-tuner. Now, the reason it's a non-tuner is the downside is if you lock yourself in only special summoning tuners, you're not going to be able to summon it. The benefit of it being a non-tuner is it starts to open up the door to other synchro monsters, because all of the other synchro monsters in the game as it currently stands right now that you can access, whether that be level 6s, 5s or 4s, all require one tuner and then one or more non-tuner. So you are playing all hand interactions that are going to be tuners, and you're playing Kewl Tune monsters that are also tuners. So the only cards in the main deck that are not tuners is 3 Mulchumi Fulos that I don't really want to normal summon, and then 1 Psyframe Driver. So it does get very, very tricky. It could open up the door, if you wanted to be using stuff like your Kewl Tune Loudness Wall with something else to make some of the bigger guys. Another one you could consider is Visas Arietara, for the pure fact that that doesn't care whether it uses tuners, a non-tuner or not. So again, it opens up the door to be able to be utilized. It can then get you a counter trap, but it's something you want to use going first, and it is a tuner itself, so you don't care about the lock. But there's a lot for you to consider. The only other one that you'd really consider if you play the Flame Crime is the fact you can go into a Coral Dragon, which could be quite nice, but ultimately I don't think it's enough to warrant its involvement, whereas I do like what the Centurions offer by giving you a bigger range of synchro options available to you. And then the last 5 cards are just targets for your Ghost Reaper, but you can put these as anything you want. So we've got Yummy Snatchy for the Yummy matchup, Arfulion for Dracotail, Leo Dancer. I don't own the current one, the Liger Dancer, because I got rid of my core, but they can't make Liger Dancer without Leo Dancer. So something you could use, take it out, change it, do whatever you need to. K9 Ripper, and then just the generic in SP Little Knight. But this could be a generic in if you're worried about Typhon, which you shouldn't really need to be worrying about because none of your monsters are huge attack stats. It could be Zeus if you're worried about Zeus. It could be a Nash Knight if you're worried about Nash Knight. Gives you a little bit more to kind of play around and think about, but you have flexibility if you want to. Like I said, this could be Metaltronus targets, it could be Super Body targets, it could be anything targets. You have flexibility over it. It's just something that at this moment in time, I don't mind, but I feel that post-Burst Protocol, if you're playing this deck, you're going to definitely be putting in the Chainbound Dragon. And in doing so with the Chainbound Dragon, if you're playing extra, you play it 3. If not, I think you probably play it like 1 to 2. I'm hoping it's not high rarity, but if it is, it's just going to slot straight in. Like the card's really good. It's basically the way the effect works is when a card is activated in response to a card or activation, I believe on either side of the field, you can choose to either negate the card that was responded to, being like if they go Nibiru, you chain a card and then you can use your Chainbound Dragon to then negate Nibiru, or you negate the card that was responding. So if you go, I activate this card effect, my opponent goes Ash, I can then use the Chainbound Dragon to negate the Ash. So it's a really cool card, and I do highly expect it. I would not be surprised if it's a higher rarity, whether that be ultra rare or secret rare. I think it's a really good card, but gives you something to consider. I like this. It's something a little bit different. I don't think it's anywhere near as complete. I know the build that had done well in Athens was on the extra version. Like I said, I'm just not the biggest fan of that one, but if that's something that you want to play, by all means you can do so. I feel that this is the most incomplete deck. Just because I think that this whole locking into tuners and summoning tuners, the pool of cards you can get access to is probably the most limited. Like when you look at Heka Hand, straight away they can play with Branded, they can play with Horus, they can play, like, they don't have many restrictions in them, they don't really care. Enneacrafts kind of restrict themselves, but they can then be opened up with more stun style cards. You can play stuff like Vanity's Fiend, you can play Dimension Fissure, like the rest of the deck can be filled in with other kind of cards, whereas this one is pretty much hand interaction turbo, and then add in a couple of synchro monsters that can slow the game down, control the game, or provide you with a bit of interaction or negation yourself. Anyway, that's it for the entire profile. I hope I've given you as much information as possible. Any questions, comments down below. I'm always happy to answer them. If you get the video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, I'll bring you a test stand video for this deck as well. I will try and get some duels recorded before Christmas, but the chances of that happening is very, very slim because it's going to be such a busy schedule, and a lot of the formats right now are like fun formats, but then again, I can probably play Kewl Tunes or I can play Heka Hands in those particular formats because they're not exactly dominating right now. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.